He's just become the first casino where the currency you pay with is attention.
Do you think attention is the most valuable currency in the world?
Well, of course.
This is one of the most important conversations happening right now, and almost nobody is having it from a faith perspective. MrBeast has 466 million subscribers. 1 in 10 young people on the planet watches him, and somebody finally said out loud what a lot of parents feel but can't articulate, that this man built a casino where the currency is your child's attention. My name's Cody Kelly, and this is the Kingdom and Culture Podcast. And on this channel, we look at what's happening in the world, in culture, in conversations, and in people's lives through a faith and Christian perspective. And today, I want to react to a video that asks a really important question. Is MrBeast good for kids? And I think the answer to that question reveals something about all of us, about what we give our attention to and what it does to our soul. Let's watch this.
Energy can never dip, not even briefly. Every second must justify itself or it gets cut. No pauses, no breathing room. It's this game of constant escalation of the video. Remove all dead air. Silence is failure.
Silence is failure. I want you to sit on that line for a second. This is from the famous MrBeast memo, a leaked internal document that Jimmy Donaldson created for his own team. And the first thing that struck me about the memo is that it's not a manifesto about creativity. It's not about storytelling. It's about one thing: how to capture attention by any means necessary. Now think about that phrase theologically for a second. Silence is failure. Silence is where you think. Silence is where you process. Silence is where you hear from God. Psalm 46 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Jesus went away to quiet places, alone, to pray. The entire biblical witness says that silence before the Lord is where transformation happens. But in this system, silence is the enemy, because silence means you might look up from the screen. And if you look up, the casino loses its currency. Romans 1:25 says they exchanged the truth of God for a lie and worshiped and served the created things rather than the creator. Paul isn't talking about idols in a temple. He's talking about the human heart's default setting, that we were built to worship. And if we don't worship the creator, we're going to worship something else, the creation. And we're going to give our attention, our time, our devotion, our money, our lives. And I think that's a really important point, because the Bible treats attention as something sacred. What you set your mind on shapes who you become. Paul says in Colossians 3, set your mind on things above, not on earthly things. Jesus said, where your treasure is, your heart is also there. And your attention, what you give it to, what you invest it in, that's your treasure. That's where your heart goes. So when a system is engineered to capture every second of your attention and eliminate every moment of silence, it's not just a business model. It's a spiritual formation pipeline. And the question is, what is that forming you into? Let's jump back in.
He's just become the first casino where the currency you pay with is attention.
Do you think attention is the most valuable currency in the world?
Well, of course.
The problem is that if you watch, if you engage, if you stay loyal, you might win the house. You might get the $1 million.
One random person that buys in one time frame, 10 minutes. We're going to put this in someone's order that buys something.
And we're going to have 24 people. We're going to put them in 24 different circles, $1 million on the line. Have some fun. You know what I'm saying?
It creates this illusion that being a fan is like holding a lottery ticket.
Last one of you to take your hand off this $1 million stack of cash keeps it.
All right, that line, a casino where the currency you pay with is your attention, it's not just a clever metaphor. That's a theological diagnosis. And here's what I mean. The video says being a fan of MrBeast is like holding a lottery ticket. You watch, you engage, you stay loyal, and maybe, just maybe, you win. Maybe you get picked. Maybe you get the $1 million. And that creates something that's powerful. It turns entertainment into a form of worship, because you're not just watching, you're invested, you're loyal, you're devoted, and the system is designed to keep you coming back. And that's exactly what Romans 1 is describing. The human heart was built for worship. We were designed to give our attention to something ultimate, something worthy, something that actually satisfies. But when we redirect that worship, that attention, and that devotion towards created things rather than the creator, we don't just waste our time, we deform our souls. We become shaped by the things we worship. good things become dangerous when they become ultimate things. And attention, which is a good gift, a gift from God, becomes dangerous when it's hijacked, commodified, and turned into a currency that someone else profits from. So let's listen to this next part. Before we jump into the next part of the video, I want to hear from you. If you've been watching MrBeast or your kids have, what have you noticed? Has it changed how you think about attention, about screen time, about what you're giving your mind to? Drop your thoughts into the comments. I read those, and this is a conversation I want to have together. And if this video is helping you think through faith, culture, and what's happening in the world from a Christian perspective, go ahead and hit that like button. It actually helps this reach more people. Subscribe to the Kingdom and Culture podcast if you haven't yet. Let's keep going.
Fred Rogers wasn't just a television host.
I'll tell you what children need. They need adults who will protect them from the ever-ready molders of their world.
He believed that his mission was to help kids grow up, to understand their emotions, to understand themselves, and be kinder human beings.
I would hope that anybody who sets himself or herself out to produce mass programming for children could have the kind of respect of childhood that I had, because it's not all clowns and balloons.
We had a director that once said to me, you take all of the elements that make good television and do the exact opposite. You have Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
He gave children what they needed, not simply what they would watch.
I love that. And I think the contrast here is devastating when you slow down and actually think about it. Mr. Rogers believed that children deserved respect. He believed his job wasn't to capture their attention, it was to steward it. And there's a difference. Capturing attention is about what you can take from someone. Stewarding attention is about what you're building in them. The video says it, and I'm paraphrasing here, but Mr. Rogers cared about the future of children. He didn't want to distract them and lie to them. And when the narrator says, in a harsh way, you could say that MrBeast is almost the exact opposite of everything Mr. Rogers stood for. And I want to read you something Jesus said, because I think it applies directly here. Matthew chapter 18, verse 6 says, if anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and be drowned in the depths of the sea. And that's strong. And Jesus is saying how you treat children matters to God. It's not a side issue. It's not a secondary concern. The way we form young hearts, what we put in front of them, what we capture their attention with, that is a soul level issue. Now, I'm not saying that MrBeast is causing kids to stumble in the way that Jesus is describing. I'm not saying he's evil. I respect what he's built from a business standpoint, but what I'm saying is when you engineer content to eliminate silence, to eliminate reflection, to eliminate every moment where a kid could think, why am I watching this? You're forming that child's soul into a particular direction. And it's not the direction Mr. Rogers was pointing. Mr. Rogers asked, what does this child need? The attention economy asks, what does this child want to watch? And those are two very different questions. People aren't projects, people are souls, and souls aren't formed by spectacle. They're formed by presence, by truth, by relationship, and yes, by silence. Let's watch this next clip.
Gloria Mark, a professor at UC Irvine, wanted to objectively measure how long people focus on any screen before switching to something else.
I started studying it, it was actually back in 2003.
The average used to be 2.5 minutes. By 2012, that had dropped to 75 seconds. She continued measuring over the years, and today, the median is only 40 seconds. But the scariest part is the feedback loop. Content gets faster to halt shrinking attention spans. Attention spans in turn shrink because they're being trained by faster content. Fred Rogers asking a child to sit still for 60 seconds while he changed his shoes. In 2026, that's not just old-fashioned. It's literally impossible. Not because it's necessarily bad, but because 40 seconds is all you get.
That feedback loop should terrify you, but not in a fear-mongering way, in a wake-up way. Content gets faster to hold shrinking attention. Attention shrinks because it's being trained by faster content, and the cycle accelerates. You know what that is? That's Romans 12:2 in reverse. Paul says, don't be conformed by the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The pattern of the world, the system, the algorithm, the feed, it's constantly pressing in on you, shaping you how you think, how long you can think, how deeply you can think. And if you don't intentionally push back against it, it will conform you. Not because it's malicious, because it's efficient. I think about this as somebody who was in the Marine Corps. In the military, you're trained to focus, you're trained to hold your attention on something that matters for as long as it takes. Your life depends on it, but we're building a generation that literally cannot hold attention for 40 seconds. And that's not a tech problem, that's a discipleship problem, because discipleship requires sustained attention. on scripture, on prayer, on other human beings made in the image of God. And here's where it gets really sobering. If you can't sit still for 60 seconds, you can't sit still with God. If your mind has been trained to jump every 40 seconds, then prayer, scripture, silence before the Lord, all of that starts to feel impossible. Not because it is, but because you've been formed by a system that has no room for it. Good things become dangerous when they become ultimate things, and attention, which is a good thing, a gift from God, becomes dangerous when it's hijacked, commodified, turned into a currency that someone else profits from. So let's watch this last clip.
So is MrBeast destroying the next generation? I really don't think he is the villain of this story. He didn't invent the game. He just learned how to win better than anyone else. The real problem is the game itself. Algorithms don't have values. They just measure what we choose to watch. They amplify what we reward. There's a reason why many tech executives don't let their own children use the products they build, because they understand at the deep level how the system works. So the question isn't really whether MrBeast is good or bad. It's whether the most powerful creator on earth has responsibility for what comes next.
Okay, here's where I land the plane. He's right that MrBeast isn't the villain. And he's right that the system is the deeper problem. But I think there's a layer underneath even that, and it's the layer that matters most. The system isn't neutral. The system, the attention economy, the algorithm, whatever you want to call it, it's built on a fundamental assumption that human attention is a resource to be extracted. And that assumption is a theological one, whether the people who built it know it or not, because God didn't design your attention to be extracted. He designed your attention to be given to him in worship, given to your family in presence, given to your neighbor in love, given to truth, to beauty, to things that last. You can have entertainment and still lose your soul. You can have millions of subscribers and still not know the peace of God. And you can be the most watched person on the planet and still be empty and private. Because the question was never about how much attention you capture. The question is, what is at the center of your life? Because whatever captures your attention ultimately captures your heart. And whatever captures your heart ultimately shapes you in who you become. The world will ask how many people are watching you, but Jesus will ask, who are you becoming? And the answer to that question, it doesn't come from an algorithm. It comes from what you give your attention to when no one's watching, when the screen's off, when it's just you and God in the silence. So maybe somebody watching this needs to ask a question, a real question. What is at the center of your life? Is it the feed? Is it the algorithm? Is it the next video? Or is it the one who made you, who gave you attention as a gift? Not so it could be harvested, but so it could be offered back to him in worship. Because once God is in his proper place, his right place, everything else starts to find its right place too. So drop your thoughts in the comments section. I want to hear from you. What stood out to you most from this conversation? Has the way you think about your attention changed? And if this video helped you think through faith, culture, purpose, and what's happened in the world from a Christian perspective, hit that like button. Subscribe to the Kingdom and Culture podcast and send this to somebody who needs to hear it. But don't stop seeking either. Ask God for faith. Ask him to open your eyes. Ask him to show you Jesus. My name's Cody Kelly. This is the Kingdom and Culture podcast, and I'll see you in the next one.